Hello and good afternoon. Today is 6:01, Tuesday, May 10th, and a meeting of the Salem-Keizer School District Board of Directors is called to order. All board members are present, excluding Director Marty Hyen. Real quickly, may I ask those who are not muted to mute yourselves, please? Thank you. Dear Salem-Keizer Public Schools family, I'm saddened to share with you that we have lost a member of our family today, Mr. Salvador, who passed away unexpectedly this morning. He joined our team as a school bus drivers in 2021 and served as students at Brush College, Chapman Hill, Scott, South, Salem, and Waldo. Salvador was known for his kindness and dedication to serving the children in our community. His coworkers enjoyed being around him and noted that he often showed up early each day so he could feel prepared for his students. Please hold Salvador's family in your thoughts, and especially his wife, who is also part of our SKPS family. And remember, no-cost confidential counseling services are offered through our employee assistance program, 24 hours a day to access services. Just like to ask for another moment of silence for Salvador. Thank you very much. At this time, now I'd like to ask Director Guzman Ortiz to read our welcome message.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Welcome y bienvenidos to the Salem-Keizer School Board meeting. At all times, whether we meet in person or virtual as we are tonight, we strive to be inclusive, respectful, and welcoming to our students, staff, educators, administrators, board members, and all community members. We welcome people of all genders, people of African descent, Black, African American, Asian descent, Arab descent, European descent, those who identify as Hispanic, Latinx, people indigenous to this land, and people of mixed and multiple descents. Languages spoken in our communities are welcome: Spanish, English, indigenous languages, sign language, Chiquis, Somali, Russian, Chinese, Vietnamese, and many more. People with disabilities, visible or invisible, people of all religions, believers in all faiths or creeds, gay, lesbian, bisexual, heterosexual, pansexual, transgender, queer, two-spirit, or others for whom none of the labels fit, survivors. Your emotions, joy, bliss, grief, rage, indignation, contentment, disappointment, your families, genetic and otherwise, our veterans who proudly served and are currently serving our country, our elders, those here in the room, in our lives, and those who have passed away, people impacted or displaced by the war in Ukraine and other violent conflicts. Yes, and finally, we'd like to welcome the ancestors who lived in this land where we live and work. Welcome the spirit of the Santiam, Kalapuya, Siletz, and Grand Ronde, the natives who lived in this area before the Europeans came. Welcome y bienvenidos a todos. Y con eso, feliz Día de las Madres.
And happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like you all to join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on, agenda modifications. So we have none tonight. And now we'll move on to item number 2, our spotlights. And I'll turn it over to Superintendent Perry.
All right, good evening, everyone. We have a number of spotlights with us tonight. So thanks everyone for being here. Our first spotlight is going to be presented by Kathy August, our South Salem High School Activities Director. I was hoping, there she is. Hey, Kathy, it's good to see you.
Hi there.
Good to see you. Good evening, Chair Avila and board members and Superintendent Perry. Tonight, I'm joined by 3 South Salem High School leadership students, Aiden Ayers, Sam Garces Diaz, and Madeline Warren Weideman. I would like to take the next few minutes to share with you about the amazing things our South Salem High School students have been accomplishing in partnership with our local family building blocks. Like other schools in our district, our leadership students were inspired to join in the fundraising efforts of the diaper drive. Students have worked hard creating flyers for classrooms, counting diapers as they turned them in, and encouraging their peers to support where they could. As a class, we decided on a goal of collecting 10,000 diapers. While lofty, we believed in the Saxon community, and students worked very hard, and I'm extremely proud to announce that we were able to collect 14,500 diapers for family building blocks. Julie Hilty, a representative from Family Building Blocks, spoke with our leadership students about the organization, and even within that small group, more than 20 students noted how their families have been personally supported by Family Building Blocks. Family Building Blocks helps families in need stay together, grow, flourish, and feel supported in their journey. And addressing the basic needs of babies and giving families a step up is vital to our students ever getting to the point of being in high school and graduating. They can see the journey, they know the struggles, and they appreciate the accomplishments. Family Building Blocks defines a community, and we're honored to support them. I know that our South Salem students truly care about the work they do in giving back to the community around us. So I just wanted to say congratulations, students, and thank you.
Nice work. That is a lot of diapers, a lot of diapers. Great work to your leadership kids, Mrs. August, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, our next spotlight tonight is going to be presented by Stephen Lytle, our coordinator for music and drama.
Good evening, Chair Avila, board members, and Superintendent Perry. I'd like to introduce you to Tiffany Carstensen, the Mckay High School teacher, drama teacher, and Jasmine Rosales Gomez, a Mckay sophomore, and Kylie Jarnigan McNary Jr. This past month, 1,100 high school theater students and teachers from 65 schools around the state came to Salem for the Oregon Thespian State Festival. Delegates could compete in a variety of acting and technical theater areas, watch one-act and full-length productions, and take workshops from professional actors and technicians, many of whom have worked on and backstage on Broadway. Tiffany said it was amazing and inspiring to see all these students learning, engaging, and celebrating with each other and their art forms. Kylie and Jasmine will serve one-year terms, organizing and running statewide events while representing the student voice on the Oregon Thespian Board of Directors. Please join me in congratulating them on their efforts this year.
Awesome. Do you have students with you, Mrs. Cartensen? I was hoping we could see their faces on there. There they are. Yeah, congratulations. What a huge honor for our theater programs. Way to represent Mckay too.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we have one more announcement. And joining me is Sheila Gephardt, our administrative assistant specialist for the music program office, theater program office. Our music department has also recently received word that we've once again received recognition from the National Association of Music Merchants for being honored as one of the nation's best communities for music education. We know that music education supports our students on their path to success, whether it be bringing a strong connection to their school and community, or to potentially following their passion for music into their adult lives as professionals. We are extremely proud of the hard work and dedication of our staff and students and cannot wait to see what they continue to accomplish in the coming years. Congratulations. And if I could add, this was all done, most recent recognition was in the context of the pandemic, so an extra heavy lift on our part of our teachers and students.
And I think for our theater educators and our music educators, they are so used to a level and of skill, and they've really done a great job of trying to just meet students where they are and growing their skill as they came out of the pandemic at all. So super impressive. And I know we had a number of awards this weekend as well in our choir festival.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you for your leadership as well. And Tiffany, it's great to see you. All right, our last spotlight tonight will be presented by Principal Renee Quiring, the principal at Mckay High School. She'll be presenting our last spotlight.
Good evening, everyone. I've come to you from the nurses' room at Waldo Middle School. So pardon my background. Good evening, Chair Avila, board members, and Superintendent Perry. I have a few people, I think, on the line that are Carol Martinez and maybe some of our nursing students. These are the people that I'll be talking to you about briefly this evening. I'm pleased to be here with you tonight, joined by Carol Martinez, one of the Mckay High School nursing program teachers and students from the Mckay Nursing Assistant Program. Mckay's Nursing Fundamentals course consists of 16 students at this time. They completed a total of 90 classroom hours, a BLS certification, and over 25 testable skills along with their written exam. To continue the program and attend clinical, the students must pass that written exam with a 73% or higher. This cohort exceeded expectations and averaged a score of 97%, the highest to date, including Shumekada's cohorts. Currently, the students are finishing their 75 hours of clinical experience where they practice their skills on residents in the nursing facility. Once they are done at the end of May, they're scheduled to apply for their nursing assistant exam. Once their application is approved, they will sit for their test on June 14 and 15. The benefits of this program have given students hands-on opportunities to learn from professionals on site as well as at school. The two teachers at Mckay, Amanda Rivera, who couldn't be with us because she's coaching softball, and Carol Martinez, who has joined us, have prepared them well for these upcoming exams. Each week we see these students wear their scrubs as they represent their program at Mckay. These scrubs signify their organization, perseverance, and focus in a rigorous program that will support their future plans, potentially becoming CNAs for our community. This program creates strong partnerships between our school and the community, allowing for job-ready status upon graduation from high school. I am continually impressed by the time management and organizational skills required by these students. They are responsible for managing clinical schedules along with the regular class schedules at Mckay. I'm extremely proud of our students and their commitment to their education and their community each and every day. And in fact, Grace Caldwell happens to also be one of them.
Wow, super impressive and highest scores to date.
Yes.
Yeah, what amazing kids. And thank you for leading them, you and your partner both.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol.
You
Thank you
students
very
rocked
much.
it.
Yeah, they did
Congratulations.
rock it.
Yeah. And what a great pathway into, you have such a jump start on the field of healthcare. You can do whatever you
Right.
want from here. Hoping you have goals of being into nursing.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. It's great to hear all these positive stories, success stories with all of our students throughout the different schools. Really appreciate it. Students keep going, teachers keep going, staff support, everybody. Really appreciate it. Moving on to item number 3 of our report. So back to you, Superintendent Perry.
All right. I'm just going to highlight a few additional celebrations tonight in my superintendent's report. We are waiting for one additional school principal to get on the line. So I'm going to save Dr. Udosna, you'd go ahead and pull up the slides and skip past the first one. And we have a teacher from Hammond here. I'm going to save your part till the end, but I won't take too long, I promise. All right, so first off, we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week last week, and we went out and did some interviews with students. Richmond Elementary is one that we're going to feature tonight. And I think we at least had one board member visit Richmond this week or last week and see the intensive therapy classroom and a number of other classrooms at Richmond. So Ethan, if you could take it away with Macy.
Can you hear?
No, we can't. It's really good.
Well, does anyone have any suggestions? This happened to me at the live event about a week ago. Aaron Harada?
Yeah, when you share screen, there should be an option to share computer sound. So you may need to stop sharing and then click on share screen again.
Okay, let's give it a try.
I'd skip over it, but Macy's pretty articulate about how amazing her teacher is. So we've got to see this. We'll give it one more try and then
I think we got it. Thanks a lot, Aaron.
I'm Macy and I'm in 4th grade.
How about now?
My favorite thing about my class is how when you come in, there's always like something that's funny going on in the classroom. So it always is like a warm, funny feeling when you walk into my classroom. My teacher, Miss Elliott, she makes me feel happy. Like when I'm sad, she makes me feel warm and happy. My teacher, Mr. Cody, he makes me happy and makes me laugh because he's really funny. We were kind of writing a story about axolotls and stuff, and it's a type of animal in Mexico, and we decided to draw a picture of an axolotl, and she was teaching us step by step, and I kept messing up, but then I got the hang of it, and I think when she said that don't give up, you can keep going, that's what made me happy.
We know it's been a hard year, and we just want to really give a heartfelt thanks to our educators, especially at this time in May when we're seeing the end of the school year, but still have a lot in front of us. So thank you to each of our educators that are on the front lines with our kids every day. All right, next we have Asian Pacific Highlander Heritage Month. And we have 1,900 Asian Americans and Pacific Islander students in our school district speaking 36 languages. Two of our amazing staff members, Sofina and Isaac, have shared about the Chukis and Marshallese culture. And I thought it was really important that I shared this with you tonight and shared their words with you tonight as well.
Yakoy. In my native language, Marshallese, that means hello. My name is Isaac Marty, and I am a native language specialist at Salem Kaiser Public Schools.
Brennan, that means hello in Chukis, my native language. My name is Sofina Kitil, and I am also a native language specialist. We would like to welcome you to Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is celebrated in May. We recognize the historical and cultural contributions of people of Asian and Pacific Islander descent.
At Salem Kaiser, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders make up 5% of our student population and 3% of our staff. It is important to remember how diverse this part of the world is. These regions make up the entire continent of Asia, as well as the Pacific Islands of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. Our students speak 36 different languages in these regions.
I came to the district in 2010. I worked here for almost 12 years. I love my job and I love working with my Chukis family. I enjoyed my job very well.
My family and I moved here from the Marshall Islands in 2017. So far, all I can say is this is an amazing opportunity to have to be able to work with a district that cares for all students of all, doesn't matter where they're from, what country, and it's a good atmosphere to be in. And also to be in the district that also cares for not just the students but families as well. They help out in many different ways.
One unique culture I want to share with you is about respect, especially the women. For our culture, as women, we cannot walk if our brothers are sitting down anywhere. We have to get down on our knees and crawl. At meetings, the women are not supposed to talk. They're just there to listen. They don't have voice, or they don't have to talk when the men are talking.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the Chukis and Marshallese. We are a matrilineal society, which women have all the rights. And it's not that women don't talk in meetings. It's more like they give all their ideas to the men to represent them. So the women have all the rights. It's just having the men be there and stand up and represent the whole family. And it's good. Thank you for sharing. A unique part of my culture that I would want to share, just piggyback on what Sofina mentioned about respect. I want to share about the language. Marshallese and Chukis look alike, but the only way you can tell us apart is by the language that we speak. So Marshallese language is not widely known, but if you can roll your R's, then you can easily speak it. Marshallese language, we have the word yakwe. It's not only for greeting, it also means love. And we don't have any word for farewell because Marshallese culture, we want to see everyone again and again. So we don't say farewell. Instead, we say par yakwe. It means hi again. And it kind of like says see you again someday.
It's important to celebrate our uniqueness and share it with others. We will be sharing more stories and cultural experiences from our Asian, American, and Pacific Islander community. I invite you to celebrate with us not only this month but throughout the entire year. Kirison.
Kumotata akum kano rolo le tingtingi mamol.
We're having our Pacific Islander learning session that the school board's leading on Monday night at 6 p.m. Am I right, Chair Avila?
That is correct. I encourage everybody to sign up on the district website and please join us for more learning.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Next up, I just wanted to highlight something new related to our world languages. So we have about 100 different languages spoken in our district. And this year, 8th grade students across the district were able to test for world language credit in high school. And this is the first year that this has been offered. So we have, as an example, Judson Middle School, 20 different languages. They take the language proficiency assessment in their strong native language, and they take it in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And 10 of our Judson students have earned multiple years of high school credit and are on their way to earning the Oregon Seal of Biliteracy because of passing that high-level assessment. So we're trying to start them earlier with the language assessment. I also picked up a few numbers from Houck Middle School and Leslie as well that I saw come out this week. So we'll keep you posted with that. It's really just a great opportunity to honor the bilingualism of our students, give them credit, have them earn that seal of biliteracy that really gives them a competitive advantage when they leave us. All right, next slide, and you can skip past that one since we already did the health services in our spotlight. So Unified Summer Programs is coming next. And just as a reminder, all of our summer programs we're getting ready to launch, I don't know, maybe 80 different programs this summer. and we'll be transporting students as well. So it will be like school didn't stop once summer hits. I think last year we served about 10,000 students or more across the district. So our unified summer programs, remember, these are our programs where we have students with disabilities and students without disabilities that partner and have programs together. We do theater, choir, different sports programs, huge success across all of our schools. We have so many schools that are unified schools at this point. But for summer, we are calling on all peer partners. So if you have a middle school, high school student that would like to be a peer in our unified programs, there's the sign up right there. And to a student, peers and our students with disabilities, they all say it's very worth their time. They build friendships, and really, it's just really an inclusive activity. All right, next slide. Our FFA students are starting to excel again. They've been volunteering at the Ag Fest, and also the Mckay High School FFA plant sale is up and running right now if you have not gotten your plants for your yard yet and it's been cold. But this year marked the 35th annual Oregon Ag Fest. I think I saw a number of board members attending on some of your social media posts. And we had students from Mckay, West, and Waldo, and we had a cumulative of over 294 volunteer hours. So it's such a tribute to our students who are so active in both their academics and their volunteerism. So, and it was great to have that back in person again. And upcoming, we are starting a really busy time with our celebrations. As we've navigated this full year of in-person learning, I think it is time to take a moment to celebrate all that our kids have accomplished and every educator that's worked with them. So we have our first recognition starting Sunday, May 15th, for our Native Education. Next week, we also have Avid Senior Recognition Night, and you can see all the way down the list. I think as board directors, you've gotten your assignments with where you're going to be. And it'll just be a great time to really celebrate the amazing work of our students. And you think about this year's seniors, they were sophomores when the pandemic started, closed down their sophomore year in March. Last year was CDL and then hybrid, and then this year, a full year of instruction. So grace to you and all of your peers throughout the district, job well done. So thank you for all that you've done. All right, and then last thing, and we mentioned this in the in the spotlights as well, we were honored again as a music city. So 2022 Best Communities for Music Education. It's rare, and I think I mentioned this in the budget message, that we have a licensed educator in every elementary school starting in kindergarten. So starting in kindergarten, our students are taught by a licensed music educator, and you can really see the difference. I work with a choir at Hoover, and the strength and the skill that they're starting to get over time is just really something to watch when you work with incredible educators who bring out such good things in our kids. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Avila, and we'll go on to the next thing. Thank you.
It's wonderful recognition. Congratulations to everybody involved. We're moving along today. It's going great. So we're moving on to item number 4, which brings up our public comment. And just want to make sure, yes.
I forgot something. I forgot the person that had to join late.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I was just thinking the same thing as soon as I saw you.
I went, yeah. All right. We have Principal Alfaro from Hammond and her teacher, Christopher Anderson. I'm so sorry I scoot past you, but we're going to see one of their students read a book by LeBron James. So we're going to play the video first, and then we'll let you come on. No wonder we're zipping along.
And Superintendent Perry, do you need me to share a screen? Oh, Gordon's got it. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, Jordan, we got to get the audio.
Oh no, we practiced in everything. Let's see.
I think you have to stop and.
I'm not trying to be condescending. Because I got this direction from Aaron. If you stop it and then share again, and then hit share sound, you'll be good to go.
Okay, my sound is shared. Here we go.
I'm in grade 3, and this book is about respecting others and to have a good life and be healthy and to try your best and never give up. I'm going to talk about some pages. I'm going to tell you what it's about. This page is about to respect old people, like you respect and like your family members. I'm going to be reading you all of this. I promise to go to school, to do all my homework, to listen to my teachers because they will help me learn, to ask questions and find answers, to never give up no matter what, to always try my best, to be helpful and respect to others, to live a healthy life by eating right and being active, to make good choices for myself, to have fun, and above all, to finish school.
All right, Principal Faro and her teacher, Mr. Anderson, are here tonight. And Mr. Anderson, if you'd just tell us a little bit about how you use the book in the classroom, and it's great to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to see you and everyone else this evening. This book, we were surprised at our door a couple of weeks ago when Geraldine Hammond arrived at our door. And for those that don't know Geraldine, she is our namesake, in which our school is named after. And it was wonderful to see her, first of all, standing up, because the last time she came out to our school, she was in a wheelchair. And one of the students mentioned after we had read the book, she goes, "Oh, Mrs. Hammond must have actually read the book because there's a part in there about not giving up. And when you fall down, get back up." So from the time they remember seeing her in a wheelchair to now, they think that she's taken the book to heart. So she donated this book to our class and to our staff. And we've kind of used it to use as a set and focus for our SEL time, for our social emotional learning. We use this book to highlight some different features that we want the kids to be able to focus on in our classroom. We use it for sportsmanship. There's a section in there about sportsmanship, and it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game and be humble about winning and gracious when you lose. So that we talk about that all the time. Basically, after every recess, when we come back in, we need to refocus and make sure that everybody's making good choices out there. We've had students who actually take that to heart and have come in on Mondays and shared with us that they had won their soccer game and some of the players on their team were bragging. And she went over and said, "Hey, remember what the book says? It says to win with grace and to be humble." So I'm glad to hear that they're using it outside of school as well. There's a section in here that we use also. We're currently participating in a program with OSU for healthy benefits and nutrition and trying new foods and try to get the kids eating healthy. And so we use this book. We talked about the section in here, but it talks about take chances, go outside your comfort zone and see what happens. And so the kids constantly are bringing that up if they have somebody that's maybe a little leery about trying the asparagus for the first time. So I love hearing the kids using the quotes from the story to encourage their classmates. It probably comes more from them than it does from me at this point, because they're so well acquainted with the story. The pictures are wonderful. It is written by LeBron James, the NBA great, but the pictures are illustrated by Nina Mata. And it's got a wonderful, multicultural, rich, diverse population in the school that they're showing, very inclusive. And it's just a wonderful book. The kids love to hear it. They use it with their buddy class. They read with a group of kindergartners. They love to take this one down and read to their kindergarten partners as well. And we also use it for setting goals. It speaks about goal setting in a very simple way, about making a promise for yourself The kids come up with their goals, and then we check in as the week goes on to see how they're doing on their goals. And the kids are really good at encouraging each other. And because of this book, really, it's just been a wonderful addition to our class. And we thank Geraldine for this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. We talk a lot about social emotional learning in the boardroom. And so it's just great to have an example of this is what social emotional learning looks like in a classroom and on the ground. So thank you for that. And I also heard that you got a letter from LeBron James as well. All right.
Yes, we're trying to encourage Damien to write his book next. Okay, we want to keep it local as well.
That's awesome. And Principal Alfaro, you wanted to tell us a little bit about your multicultural night coming up.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. We're gonna have a multicultural night, May 26th from 5 to 6:30. Everybody's invited. To tell about a little bit of Hammond Elementary School, it was built in 2001, named after Miss Hammond, but Miss Hammond has a really good set goal in her mind, and it was about multiculturalism. So she loves multiculturalism, and we're gonna have this night. In our school, we have 19 languages represented, and we're gonna have display at the entrance. So everybody's gonna come and they're gonna see the world map. They can have a pin, so they can put a pin in their place where they're their origin. We're gonna have flags from the multiple countries, and they're gonna receive a passport. So they're gonna visit the different parts in the school where the kids are displaying the art from different countries, and also families are gonna be able to create art from different countries or take home some kids to create arts. So this is important for us because it was part of our grant that we received to talk about equity work, to talk about SEL, about empathy, respect, acceptance, and to be a cultural responsive school. So everybody's invited to come. And one part that is, I'm so excited, we are inviting families to wear their culture's traditional clothing. So my hope is like everybody bring their cultural traditional clothing and they can come and be with us and have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much for being here tonight, to both you and Mr. Anderson. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I love the learning experiences showing that they're really applying some critical thinking skills from the book activities. So thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to our fourth item on the agenda, which is our public comment. So again, reminder in response to feedback, we have received about improving the opportunity to be selected to speak. We are testing a new procedure tonight. We are using a lottery system to select speakers at random, first for agenda items and then for items not on the agenda. We have both Zoom and phone callers today. We have allotted 45 minutes for public comment. Each caller has 3 minutes with an additional 3 minutes for translation if needed. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. We will have a countdown timer on screen for monitoring time. The timer counts down from 3 minutes. At 30 seconds, it turns from green to yellow. At 1 second, it turns red and plays a short bell to signal your time is up. Please be mindful of your pace for our interpreters. As a reminder, all board members received a written comment, which will be posted to the website. For those people we weren't able to hear tonight, if we have any, we will email them and ask them to email us their public comment. So can I please get Jordan or Aaron, can I please get the first caller on the line?
Yes. Our first caller tonight is Santos. Santos, are you able to unmute? *6, please. If not, we can go on to
Hello?
our... Oh.
Hello?
We can hear you, Santos. Go ahead and get started.
Okay, so my name is Santos, and I'm going to tell you a story about my experience with security guards in this rows. For a reminder that policing youth is wrong and is important, and it's part of the school division pipeline. When I was in elementary, that's when it all first started. My first encounter with a police officer. I was expelled and detained because I was a little kid going through a lot, and also a brown kid living in a neighborhood that's low income. From there, it got worse. When I went to middle school, I also was constantly getting policed by security guards and by teachers. I was getting referrals like it was candy on Halloween because I was a hyperactive kid, and being brown made it worse. During those times, I was made to believe I was a bad kid, but eventually the school expelled me, and they started a pathway of alternative schools. For 3 years, I was stuck in the system of oppression. In those times, I was in and out of juvenile detention centers and juvenile alternative programs. It was a nightmare that I got used to. The ways I was policed was the way I dressed, the way I talked, and the people I hang out with. Not only did I get policed, but my peers too as well. I was heavily policed throughout my life, and it started at school. It wasn't until recent that I stopped because I'm out of school. You know, my story isn't unique because every year and every decade, there's kids constantly getting policed. No board member or superintendent can care about a brown kid just like me. We need more mental health support services in our school, not people that enforce silly policies. Thank you.
Our next caller is Nayeli. Nayeli, are you able to unmute, please?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can
hear you.
Okay, I'm Nayeli, and I'm going to be reading a story that was written by an anonymous student in the Salem-Kaiser School District. At a middle school in Salem-Kaiser School District, I would get threatened to get beaten up, and I went to the behavior specialist and showed him the messages and who it was, and he brushed it off because he personally knew the girl and her family, and she wouldn't do that. So she must have been joking. Nothing ever came of it because he brushed it off and ignored me and my mother. At a high school in Salem-Kaiser School District, I had an incident where I had a stalker and was being threatened and harassed, so I went to the behavioral specialist, now assistant principal, and told her how unsafe I felt and showed her everything, and had my mom with me while I was so anxious to be at school because my stalker wanted to harm me and would leak my private information because they had hacked into my phone. So I asked the behavioral specialist if I could have security with me or outside my class or something to ensure my safety, such as giving me my homework and schoolwork to do at home. And she brushed me off, crying and hyperventilating, full-on panic attack, and sat there watching and listened to me share my story, being very vulnerable. All she said to me was, "You ready to go back to class now? You are fine. Nothing will happen." I felt so unsafe and like the school was not there for me at all, not counting the numerous times I felt targeted for being Hispanic. My mom could not believe what she had heard and took me home. Thank you.
Thank you, Nayeli.
Our next caller will be joining us on Zoom. Maricela, are you able to unmute?
Yes.
You may go ahead.
Okay. Para empezar, gracias por recaudar fondos para contratar más maestros.
Thank you first for fundraising to hire more bilingual teachers to provide support to bilingual school and teaching, in particular because Hispanic people are a minority in this district. I think this decision makes me believe in the possibility that more students will receive support, and I'm very hopeful about it. Even though this happened, we have you have decided to hire more security officers instead of counselors. And now, as a teacher, what I feel about these security specialists has not changed. children don't see these people as mentors or personnel that is supportive of them, but rather as authorities that criminalize them and that create fear. And right now I'm taking a course for the Oregon Professional Association, and I've learned about ELSIS or adversarial experiences for children. Like, what are negative experiences? The death of a relative and abuse, and how these experiences affect mental development, and how they can also have an impact on health, like asthma, diabetes, and heart failure. After a global pandemic, it comes as no surprise that these negative experiences and impacts have been caused. In addition, a lot of children are just learning how to be students after almost 2 years of interrupted education. That is why I think that we need to hire more culturally knowledgeable advisors and counselors. And I think that is essential. I have personally met behavioral specialists that work jointly with counselors and that teach students how to learn emotional skills. And these are skills that the children will take to their adult lives. So please consider removing these security specialists from the schools and hiring more behavioral specialists that can help. Thank you.
We're going to have a translator. Marisela, le quería preguntar si alguien iba a traducir para usted o necesita que alguien traduzca.
Marisela, will someone translate for you, or do you need someone that will translate for you? Can I have someone else translating for me?
The interpreter, if you're on the English channel, you can have the interpreter simultaneously interpreting from the Spanish public comment into English. I was just listening to that side, so I think some folks need to swap over to that. It's just like on the bottom near of your Zoom window, there's like a little world, and you can switch to English. So that way, whenever someone's giving public comment in Spanish, you can still understand it.
And can I add for our public, in the English channel, they are hearing it all in English, including the simultaneous interpretation from Spanish to English. And in our Spanish channels, they heard Marisela.
Si en el canal en español la escucharon a Marisela con su voz original.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Cobb.
Yes, thank you.
Our
We can move on to the next caller. Sorry, Jordan.
Oh, no, you're good. Our next caller will be joining us from Zoom as well. Vanessa, are you able to unmute?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me see. Sorry, I can't really hear you guys very well. Should I just start talking?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay, I'm here to speak on the violence and bullying in our schools and statewide. I'm here pleading with you to use our district as an example and to please set stricter disciplinary policies to show that violence will not be tolerated or allowed to disrupt our children's education. First, to give you a little background on what led me on this journey to advocate for the change in our schools was my second grade son was physically assaulted by a fourth grade student last month on April 20th. He was beat with a large umbrella, punched numerous times in the face, and bit in the neck. The child who assaulted him only received 2 days of in-school suspension. He is one of 3 boys who have bullied my son all year. One of them had threatened to stab and kill my son, and he had only received a talking to. Had they sent the message at that time that this type of behavior is not tolerated, I feel my son would not have been assaulted like he was. It was a brutal assault. A police report was filed and I received a case number. However, the police cannot do anything until the child is 12. And even at that time, they said it would have to be murder for anything to be done.
And that was a quote from the police officer. The QAM manual states for a non-accidental assault, it should warrant up to 10 days of out-of-school suspension or expulsion. Why is this or any recommendations in the manual if it is not being used? The education director stated that this assault did not warrant an out-of-school suspension. Neither her nor the principal at my son's school could give me an example of what would warrant an out-of-school suspension. I feel that policies need to be implemented and not just typed on a piece of paper. The system is failing our schools because of the lack of discipline and the lack of accountability by the school. We have nobody to go to once the school fails the system, and I feel that's why suicide rates are so high. A quote by the federal government's own website, bullying.gov, states, "When adults respond quickly and consistently, it sends a message that it is not acceptable." I have some suggestions that I feel can improve what is now a broken system. These ideas came from issues I encountered during the process of trying to seek what I feel like was a minimum disciplinary action as listed in their very own manuals. I am asking that there's mandatory disciplinary actions for physical assault, showing no tolerance, automatic out-of-school suspension, as well as mandatory disciplinary actions and threats of physical assault, whether it be verbal or written, as well as a verbal or written threat to cause physical harm. So that could be like a 1, 2, 3 strike system. For example, the first strike could be a warning. The second strike can be an in-school suspension, third strike out of school, and so on. And if it's a more severe act, maybe it would be a more severe discipline. But I think it should be mandatory because my son was really failed in that area. I also am recommending to maybe set up some anger management workshops.
Thank you, Vanessa, for sharing your experiences.
Our next caller is Vicente. Vicente, are you able to unmute? *6 to unmute, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, hello. My name is.
Hold on, sorry. We have 2 people on the call. Jordan, can
Alex,
you?
are you able to mute? Or we can mute him.
Yeah.
There we go. Should be good to go now. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Vicente, and that's all I'll be giving. I've been in the school system. I grew up in Northeast Salem since Hillman Elementary. My first encounter with SROs and also a police officer was in elementary when I was in 3rd grade. And they threw me in the back of a cop car because they couldn't handle a kid with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And ever since then, I've been in the juvenile system because they couldn't handle kids that had problems growing up. And that affects me a lot emotionally and physically because all they did was threw me in the cop car and let me go to the juvenile system. And it's frustrating because you guys say you guys will put specialists that will help students. You guys will put the reinvestments, but y'all didn't. There's no reinvestments in the schools. There's no, emotional support teachers, nothing. Everything that I see in schools is just targeting. Ever since I hit high school, I got targeted by security officers. I got targeted by security because of my anxiety, my depression, and everything that I have with me. You guys do not acknowledge what's going on with students of color, students of BIPOC youth, the LGBTQ, and I feel like you guys should really acknowledge the mental health and the targeting y'all doing with these SROs and the reinvestment into all that. It's frustrating. Sorry for the language, but thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Vicente.
Our next caller is Alex. Alex, are you able to unmute?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Alex, and that's the further information I'll be giving due to the white supremacy on the board and those who are listening. I'm going to be sharing some stories, a quick storybook about some encounters that your students in the same kind of school district have with your security and SROs. I'll start off with I feel unsafe because as a person of color, I see what happens on the news, and having cops in our schools makes me feel unsafe. I see how racist they are, and it worries me
that they get to be in our schools. Police/security just pick on kids and get them in trouble. That's all they all seem racist. Police/security were classist and racist. I saw that they were always targeting everyone. I'm half Arab and pretty white passing, but I felt scared. Police don't belong in our schools. I get nervous when I see them. They pulled over my mom, and they have been racist and rude. I don't get why they're at our schools. Security guards don't make me feel.
Did we lose Alex?
Yes, it looks like that we did. If he joins back on, would you like me to let you know?
Yeah, we can try to hopefully we can get him on later. Okay. Give him his 2 minutes.
Awesome. Our next caller is Cindy. Cindy, are you able to unmute? *6 to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I will be quoting an anonymous student from the Salem Kaiser School District talking about how a security guard has criminalized them and harassed them. They said, this one time the security called me into the office and they searched my backpack without even telling me that they were going to search it because they thought I had something on me. The security guard physically pulled me and forced me out of the room when I told them I wasn't going to let them search me. That same security guard ended up getting fired later on. He always made false accusations against students of color. Another student said, quote, security guards are very creepy. I have heard and seen them flirt with girls many times, and it's disgusting. There are so many stories of youth being constantly harassed by security guards that go unnoticed. You have many students that are, very scared to come forward due to the retaliation from the district, or they come forward and they are being flat out ignored by staff and by the district. This is why we need more resources and money going into more mental health resources. And we need to stop the funding of the carceral systems and systems of policing. And I want to add one more thing. Throughout this meeting in the beginning, there was, a lot of praise of how there's a lot of languages spoken within this district, and that's great. But we need to have those resources for students that, speak all these languages, right? And right now, currently in this district, there's over 40,000 students in this district and only 4 psychologists that are bilingual. So I want you all to think about that, because it's good to praise all the languages that are spoken in this district, but if you don't have the resources like the psychologists for those students, you can't be patting yourself on the back for that if you don't have resources for these students that speak all these languages. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alex was able to rejoin. So, Alex, are you able to unmute?
Yes, could you hear me?
We can, Alex, and you had about 1 minute and 55 seconds.
Okay. Like I was saying, continuing with the storytelling, I have witnessed a lot of things alternate schools and police. A lot of police don't understand the experience of students that come from these schools. And there's a lot of stigma and trauma that goes into it. I felt unsafe when police and security often harass kids at my school. I don't think they serve an actual purpose other than just making kids feel unsafe. Security guards have often bullied students and criminalizing us. It's scary to see SROs have guns. I feel unsafe when I see police and security in our schools. I've seen my BIPOC community get hurt and not get the support they're needing. So after listening to all of this, I think the importance you need to take is that your students are asking and pleading, and for many of years asking for resources for them being in school, for their mental health, and overall anxiety and stuff they're going through at school. So the importance of taking this information and actually listening to your students is very important. stop harassing and criminalizing your students and actually support them like you all said in the beginning of the year, especially those who are serving on this board. Your students are tired of being policed and harassed at their own schools that you all call safe and welcoming. It's no longer safe and welcoming when you have fascists on your board and you have fascists in your schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Our next caller is Yadira. Yadira, are you able to unmute?
Hi, good evening, Chair Avila, Superintendent Perry, and board members. My name is Yadira Juarez. I live in Northeast Salem. I have one child in Parish Middle School in dual program and two in college. I am the program director from Salem Kaiser Coalition for Equality. My testimony will refer to the resolution in support of the expansion of dual language. Salem Kaiser Coalition for Equality supports the expansion of dual program language because hundreds of Spanish-speaking Latino parents have called for years to open dual program school in Northeast and East Salem, where the majority of Spanish-speaking families live. They know their children will learn Spanish as well as English better in dual program, and they will have more success in school. Some of the benefits of this program are closing achievement gaps, increasing the academic achievement of elementary students, as well as students learning to embrace their own culture and a new culture. That is why we advocate for this to be included in the SIA priorities when I was part of the Student Investment Task Force in 2019. I am still part of the SIA Advisory Committee, and we continue to support the implementation of dual language programs in areas where our Latino community can access them. As a mother, I have the opportunity to have my children in dual programs and at the same time watch their academic development in Spanish and English. My children achieve the following in the dual program. They perform at or above grade level in both language. They develop a high level of proficiency in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in both English and Spanish. They develop positive attitudes towards those who speak the other language and towards their culture. They foster self-esteem and leadership skills. Our community will be watching with examining to see those programs open. The only thing I ask you is to make sure you hire the right people for those new schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Yadira.
Our next caller is Luis. Luis, are you able to unmute? *6.
Hi, my name is Luis, and I'm going to read an anonymous story from a student in the Salem Kaiser School District. I had gotten accused of racing and doing donuts with my car in the campus parking. They had zero proof it was me, yet the behavioral specialist and security showed up at my door in the middle of a pandemic, accusing me of being the one that did it. He said that the school wanted to press charges against me. The way he was explaining things to me did not make any sense. He was telling me things that were not in order. And after I realized that he was just manipulating me and doing what quote-unquote behavioral specialists do, I realized that he was accusing kids, serving no real purpose, or being a resource. I started to doubt myself, even though I knew I didn't do any of this. He used his position of power as a behavioral specialist to manipulate me and exploit the coach-athlete relationship that I had with him before his role. He basically interrogated me without parental consent, and this is illegal to do with a minor. I at least had my mom and my sister advocate for me, and they called him out on it. And just to add on to this, this story, and echoing all the stories that were shared throughout these testimonies, Christy Perry, it was really wrong for you to hire more behavioral specialists and security personnel. It doesn't address the root causes, that's affecting our communities. It doesn't address the equity lens, you're not being anti-racist. And you really need to do your role as a superintendent, or you just need to straight up quit because you're not serving any purpose for our youth. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis.
Our next caller is Marie. Marie, are you able to unmute *6?
Hi, my name is Abigail Marie, and I'm calling. I'm a parent of a special ed kindergartner. I'd like to share a story. I've heard plenty of the stories tonight, and it brought back a memory for me. When I was in my 20s, me and a friend used to go and play tennis and go sit in her car afterwards and hang out. And a neighbor called the police on us and said that we were suspicious. And me and my friend, who is Pomo Indian, got held at gunpoint for over an hour for simply sitting in our car. And so I asked myself, like, what did I do about it? Well, I went to college. I got a degree in criminal justice, and I got a job working at a local high school as a student advisor. When I hear these stories about student advisors or campus security being bad people or being negative, that is not my experience as a student advisor at a predominantly Hispanic high school. One of the greatest memories I have of working there is sitting with a student who was having thoughts of self-harm and talking with her while there was no school counselor to be found on the campus. I later ran into her when I was in college and going back to school for taking Spanish and some law classes. And she was a bright and happy, completely different individual. And I believe that the conversation we had that day made a big impact. I really hope that students who are speaking today will channel their energy into a more positive movement. A recent article came out that I will be forwarding to the school board, tells a tale of corruption in Salem-Keizer Public Schools, where there's just a long story of impropriety between school board directors, organizations and their supporters, people who are speaking tonight. And so if you really want to counter the culture of bullying in our schools, it needs to start at leadership. I hope that you will listen to parents when they say that we really want our children to be safe in school, and not just listen to stories of, anonymous people. There really is a need for safety in our schools. It's been a problem for a while. And just because we have campus security, it doesn't mean that it has to be either all or nothing. We can have counselors, we can have behavior specialists, we can have it all and have a really healthy school environment. And with that being said, I hope that people will take to heart what I've said. I've been there, I've experienced what these students are talking about as a Hispanic teenager, but channel your energy into something that will impact the world for positive instead of negative.
Thank you, Abigail.
Our next caller is Randy. Randy, are you able to press *6 to unmute, please?
Yes. Hi, my name is Randy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Great. I am calling. I just wanted to make a comment on the a suggestion, if you will, about the gender-neutral bathrooms that are happening or will be happening. I think the concept of particularly in the elementary and the middle schools, I think it's even a higher safety concern as far as, a 12-year-old 6th grade boy being in the bathroom with a 6-year-old 1st grader girl. Most parents are going to be, unless they know that 12-year-old boy, it's going to be worrisome, because here's the thing. Schools have lunchroom monitors, paid and volunteer lunchroom monitors for a reason, to monitor those areas for safety. Schools have recess monitors to monitor the research playgrounds for safety reasons. And it just makes no sense that there wouldn't be an adult bathroom monitor in these large general neutral bathrooms. So I really just wanted to make that suggestion that in order to, and I know I have compassion for teachers and school board members and principals that are dealing with so much politics left and right now. And, I have compassion that it'd be totally out of your hands. It's like, I don't even know if it's state law yet, that's it. But I would just highly, highly encourage. I have compassion for you guys because, if you make the wrong decision, or you might, because of cancel culture, you can't say how you truly feel about it, whether you support it or you don't support it. So I feel for those people in that position as well. I understand how tough it is, but I really just want to recommend there be an adult bathroom monitor, an adult sitting on a stool, excuse me, or a chair, somebody that's moderating, so it's safe for all the kids, and including the trans kids. Everybody's safe. I think it's really dangerous territory to head towards gender-neutral bathrooms. I just don't think it, particularly for young girls, it's going to be a pretty scary and stressful experience. And I think it would be alleviated if you guys get those adult bathroom monitors, so it's a safe place in those large gender-neutral bathrooms. But that's all I wanted to suggest, just something to kind of help the safety issue. If that's a road that the school absolutely has to go down, it is already going down. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Our next caller is Julissa. Julissa, are you able to unmute? *6 to unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Go ahead.
My name is Julissa Rodriguez, and I am an educator in the district. I'm just calling, well, first and foremost, for the Asian and Pacific Islander proclamation. I think it's great that we do have these proclamations and that we honor these cultures that are within our school district. But once again, it needs to be more than just a proclamation that everybody signs. It gets filed into the May folder, right? And then the next one comes for the next month. So apart from the proclamation, we really need to put, as a district, money where our mouth is when we're writing these proclamations. So for the Asian Pacific Islander staff, having mandatory training for staff to understand the cultures. I mean, I know we have training after training, but it's really important that we understand where the students are coming from culturally, and also invest in books from their culture and that's more than just like a Luna month, more books that are more diverse and not so just culturally superficial, something that goes deep into their culture. The next thing is talking on the, what is it called? Sorry, the staff wellness survey that we just did with the Panorama survey. One of the questions was asking how staff feels, do we feel stressed and all that, and our own well-being. In order for staff to feel healthy, we got to make sure our students are healthy. And we have to really address the root causes of how our students are experiencing trauma and how they've experienced trauma. So we really need to reinvest the SRO funds into therapists, because our students need that help. And as I've stated before in these meetings, I have worked in social work in the Salem area, Kaiser, Marion County area. And even with insurance, those resources are very limited. So I can't imagine a family trying to access those resources outside without having all access to the resources I had as a counselor in people's homes trying to help them get that stuff. So yeah, we really need to address these root issues. And I really applaud the people and the youth who have called in today to share their stories. It's not easy to call into a public forum to share those traumatic stories, and it's really unfair for us to have them keep on sharing those traumatic stories because we haven't moved on the things that need to happen so that they feel safe within our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Julissa.
Our next caller is Elizabeth. Elizabeth, are you able to unmute, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, get started.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I, a community member, past employee, and volunteer in this district, continue to call for this district to commit to making the material changes demanded by students who continue to be harmed by the structures in place in this district and by everyone who upholds them. All $1 million from the SRO funding should be reinvested into direct student supports as directed by what students and youth generationally impacted by the school to prison pipeline have communicated as needs, such as more mental health supports like psychologists. As we continue to hear the solutions being continually repackaged and reoffered, being security and behavioral specialists, cause harm to our students and simply have been ineffective. They here in these meetings and elsewhere, we've been hearing district employees talk about students they're calling violent. It's beyond disturbing to hear employees of our district speaking about students as if they are the problem and saying that increased security and punitive systems are the solutions. Those are have always been those are things we've already tried. We already know they don't work. We already know from the stories that are told to us over and over and over again how they impact the students coming up in our community. It's abuse, it's the school to prison pipeline. The many solutions that would support students, educators, families are not mysteries. There are so many small changes and big changes that would help that students have communicated to us over and over again, such as, again, the mental health support, simply more space for them to be the full humans that fluctuate day by day, processing life and emotions, space for creativity, space for breaks, to get away, to have quiet lunches, to have social lunches, different options. Daniel Bethel and Mari Hayan must resign due to repeated, documented, explicit, racist, transphobic, and otherwise bigoted actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Our final caller tonight is May. May, are you able to unmute? *6.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. In a recent article, Chrissy Perry speaks on the new budget, which proposes to add instructional support assistants, full-time staff to teachers and behavioral specialists, as well as hiring 2 additional security specialists, which are now referred to as quote-unquote campus safety associates. She claims we need the security to have more eyes and ears on campus due to quote-unquote escalated behavior. Security staff personnel are rooted in punitive discipline and contribute to the school to prison and deportation pipeline. Regarding escalated behaviors, they don't meet those needs, they make it worse. We are in a pandemic, people are dying, times are stressful, youth are in distress and need counselors and psychologists. The community has been advocating for this, and the budget ignores the emphasis on mental health support. Chrissy Perry made a promise to be anti-racist and use an equity lens, yet is still upholding white liberal politics that punitively harm BIPOC youth. When I was in school, a security guard would follow me during my free period, and there was this one time I was followed off campus by a security guard to a park, all the way to a park that was nearby, and was intimidated and was told if I didn't go with him, I would have serious consequences. This is the same security guard that would be creepy towards students and would make us uncomfortable. I didn't feel safe. So, like, these authoritative figures are not what our schools need. We need more mental health people. Thank you.
Thank you, May. Well, that wraps up for tonight's public comment, and appreciate it. And just want to remind everybody that you can submit your comments to the board through our email found on our website, and we really appreciate it and do take the time to read everything. So why don't we call a 5-minute break, and we'll return at 7:25. Thank you.
Back, everybody. And we are right on time with the agenda. So at this time, moving on to our action items, which will begin with the Asian American Pacific Island Heritage Month proclamation. And I'll ask our Superintendent Perry to introduce this item, and then Director Chandagiri will read the proclamation.
Right. Thank you very much. Just as a little bit of background on this proclamation, we did work with Senior Paul Quash, who also did the backgrounds for us for Asian Pacific Islander Month, who's also a senior. So huge shout out to Paul at North Salem High School as you're in your final days of high school as well. And then Kathleen Jonathan, who works out of Cynthia's office, worked with communications on this proclamation tonight. And they tried to center students in some of the wording of the proclamation. So with that, I'll turn it to Director Chandagiri.
Thank you, Chair Avila and Superintendent Perry. I really feel it's an honor for me to read this, coming from India, a part of the Asia with a large population of 1.2 or 1.3 billion, with many languages, roughly 20,000 languages. And between me and my wife, we speak many languages. So it's nice that we are having the multilingual expansion and everything coming together. 60% of the world population live in this Asia Pacific region. 60% of the world's population. Roughly 4.3 billion people live there. It's a very diverse part of the world with many languages, wonderful food, multiple cultures. 50, 100 miles you drive, you'll see a totally different costume, culture. It is a very ancient part of our world civilization. Many of the civilization, whether it's Chinese or Indus Valley civilization, everything has seats. And some of the museums you go, you get to appreciate artifacts which are like 5,000 years old or more. But just to kind of play with a few words, I'm going to share some greetings in different languages. So if the translators can't translate, I'll just summarize it, please. I don't want anybody holding it against me. Namaste, Ni Hao, Adab, Sat Sri Akal, Vanakkam. These are all the different ways of greeting. So greetings to all of you. And now to the proclamation. Whereas Salem Kaiser Public Schools recognize the Federal Asian Pacific American Council's role to educate the public about Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander, and celebrates this year's theme of advancing leaders through collaboration. And whereas SKPS recognizes that despite the month being Asian American Pacific Islander, both Asian and Pacific Islanders are distinct groups and deserve equal representation. Though categorized together, they have their own classification and cultures. And whereas Asia Pacific encompasses all the 48 countries of the Asian continent and Pacific Islands of 15 countries, 3 subregions that include Melanesia, roughly 2,000 islands, Micronesia, 2,000 islands, Polynesia, 1,000 islands. And whereas the traders from Asian Pacific region reached North America as early as the 16th century, but the first significant wave of immigration began during that late 1800s. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have played a significant role in America's history with their enormous contribution to science, arts, industry, government, and commerce. And whereas the people of the Compact of Free Association, COFA, island nations have moved to the US, with especially the Marshallese and Chakusi population growing exponentially in the Salem-Kaiser area. And whereas the 5% of Salem-Kaiser students identify as Asian or Pacific Islander, to include Cambodian, Mayan, Occitan, Palawan, Filipino, Pompeian, Shona, Tagalog, Telugu, Thai, Tonga, Vietnamese, Yapisi, Kamaru, Chinese, Cantonese, and Mandarin, Native Hawaiian, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Lao, Samoan, and the largest student groups of Marshallese in roughly 314 and Chakosi 310 students. And whereas SKPS within the Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebrates all its students, including students who identify as LGBTQ+, and those who are first generation low income, FGLI, and whereas 2.52% of Salem Kaiser employees identify as Asian or Pacific Islanders, 48 identify as Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, and 127 identify as Asian. And whereas the SKPS provides resources to directly support continued achievement growth for Asian American and Pacific Islander students, and whereas Salem Kaiser is committed to expanding employment and career opportunities for advancement of historically underserved populations, and whereas SKPS condemns the anti-Asian harassment and violence across the country and supports the 2021 COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, addressing hate crimes throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, with particular emphasis on increasing violence against the Asian Americans. Now, therefore, Salem Kaiser School District Board of Directors proclaim May 2022 to be Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and invites our community to join in celebrating our students and staff of Asian, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander heritage, and in making this period of rededication to the principles of justice and equality for all people. Osvaldo F. Avila, Chairperson, Board of Directors, Salem Kaiser Public Schools. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Chindigiri. Now I'd like to ask for a motion.
I move that we approve the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month proclamation.
Thank you, Director Noes-Pressey. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Well.
Thank you, Director Bethel. Do I have a discussion? I see no discussion in addition to Director Chindigiri's. Yeah, I was just going to say in addition to what Director Chindigiri has shared already, but go ahead.
Thank you. You know, every year, I think we're going to start having the World Beach Festival again. End of July, I believe, June sometime. So in the Riverside Park, there'll be, and there is an Asian stall and the different continents. And every year, our South Asian community has been having a stall along with other Asian communities. So it'll be really nice if everybody in the community can come and visit that if they're going to have it. I'm told they're going to have it in this year and really experience different countries and talk about different culture, history, costumes, etc., dance and show. And so it's a beautiful occasion. 2 days, I believe, they have it on a weekend. So please come. This year, it's not going to be very hot, so it'll be nice. And please support this proclamation.
Thank you. I'd just like to share it's very important that we take consideration and strive to understand and incorporate our cultures and uplift all of us, especially during this time of Asian American Pacific Island Heritage Month, but not just this month, throughout the entire year. Okay, I will now take a vote for all those in favor of adopting the proclamation. Can I please see your hands up? Director Guzman, Director Noes-Pressey, Director Avila, I'll pass. And Director Bethel, do you have a yay or nay?
I'm having internet connection issues, so if I turn my camera on, I'll lose this, but I'm a yay.
Thank you. So all directors are in favor. Proclamation passes. Great. So now I'd like to welcome the two student candidates who applied for the position of student advisor to the school board, Raylynn Brennan and Isaac Mcdonald. I will call on each of you to answer two questions. They've been invited to provide a 2-minute statement on the following. As a student advisor to the school board, you will represent all students across all our high schools. How will you bring their voices to the board? So go ahead and Raylynn, would you like to give us your explanation of how you would achieve that?
For being able to listen to everybody and be able to bring their voices in. That's correct?
Yes.
Well, so I am on the speech and debate team at Sprague High School. And so being on speech and debate, my coaches taught me the importance of listening to other people's and being able to uplift other people's voices. And as someone at my school who is queer and is a queer activist, I not only hear the voices of queer students, but many students who are not the majority feel that they can come talk to me with problems that they have. And so many students already do that. And so that would be just one way that I would be able to hear and listen to their voices and then be able to take it to the school board if I were if I were selected as the position. And then I would also make it a point to, at my school's town hall meetings that we have on Fridays with our people from school and our admin, I would make it a point to say, like, tell people that any concerns that they have, that they can come to me, and anything that they would like to be addressed, that they are free to talk to me whenever they can. And many people already know that. So that is a way that I would be able to uplift people's voices.
Great, thank you very much. That's a wonderful response. I hope you're all taking notes, directors. Okay, so now I'll call on Isaac again. Please give us, explain how you would represent all students across your high school and bring in their voices to the board.
As one person with one perspective, I recognize that my capacity to bring all voices and all perspectives from our diverse district is an extraordinary task. But as the student advisor, I will try my very best to do so. First and foremost, it will be important for me to connect with the many student groups from our high schools so that I can either bring their ideas to the board or bring their voice directly to the board in a meeting. Also, as the advisor, I would seek out opportunities to connect with our communities and our high schools so that I am aware of the climate and the feelings of high schools other than West Salem, where I attend. Also, as a bilingual high school student, it would be a daily mission of mine to connect with all sorts of my peers in a real and authentic way, to have conversations about anything and everything on the mind of a Salem-Keizer student. I would carry with me the concept of radical empathy, the idea that everybody's position is justified in their own mind. And before we connect, the first step is to listen and learn about perspectives free of judgment. This will allow me to truly hear the voice and bring it to this board. Thank you to the superintendent and the chair and the board members for having me tonight.
Great, thank you. If you're all like me, directors, this is going to be a very difficult decision to make. But to get this moving forward, I'll ask our Mr. Paul Dicopoulos to run the voting. We will take a roll call vote. So, Mr. Dicopoulos, it's all yours.
Well, it is as simple as that.
Chair, I had my hand up to be recognized.
I apologize, I did not see that.
I think it's hard to see with this background. I just think both of you are awesome, and I appreciate your interest in applying to be our student advisor. I'm wondering what we might think of as a board, appointing both to be student advisors to our board, since it's a lot of work, as Grace knows. And I did not talk this over with anyone before, so my huge apologies. I'm breaking protocol. Anyway, throwing it open for discussion.
Just to seek clarification, Mr. Coppolis, is there anything bearing us from having this discussion and potentially moving forward with the possible 2 votes or two student advisors?
Well, you do have a policy that where you just have one student advisor. So you someone could make a motion to suspend this conversation and have it at a next board meeting. There's you don't have on your agenda a discussion about amending the policy, but there's nothing that stops you from moving this item to another day so that you can have that discussion. You do need to take action to amend your student advisor policy.
I move, the Chair Avila, I move that we pause for today and introduce an amendment to our policy, if possible, as of today, if you would permit, as a first reading, and the next board meeting we can bring it up, where we will amend our policy about student advisor to have the ability to have more than one serve in that capacity.
Thank you, Director Chandigiri. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Karina.
Director Guzman, these seconds, and go ahead.
Yes, and I would actually love to hear from Grace. Sorry, Grace, to put you on the spot, but as someone who has served on this role as one student, I mean, I can think of some reasons why it might be really helpful, but I would love to hear from your perspective of how we might also be able to, how it might be positive for us, this role to be shared by 2 students if possible.
Yeah, I think this is like the second time we've mentioned having more than one student advisor, but this time I think we could actually act on it because I like both of them and I've met both of them and I've worked with both of them and they're really great people. But I think it's nice to have more than one because, I mean, you're going to do the student advisor meetings, so you're going to come to the board meetings, but there's also the budget meetings, there's the equity meetings, there's the safety meetings, and there's a point where, especially senior year, we're going to get really busy between doing your school, like I know you're in speech and debate or you're in the equity group, and then you can't make it to all the meetings. So it's nice to have more than one person working, and then you guys can always just chat and email and say, hey, I went to this meeting. And then there's a lot of other opportunities through Salem Kaiser where it's nice to be working together, especially with like groups where you might have to work with students from other schools. It's nice to have somebody else with you. So I think it'd be good to have more than one student advisor as well. And we kind of do it similar. We've kind of done similar this year too with Paul and Dara. I mean, they've done almost everything else with me as well. So I know I'm a student advisor, but you work with so many other people that it only makes sense to have more than one.
Great. Thank you for providing that feedback. Any further discussion? Yes, Director Chandigiri.
Yeah. My suggestion would be to leave it as more than one without defining the number. Because at some stage with the 6 high schools, we can have like 1 from each so that we have an equitable representation from different high schools working together in a systematic manner. I mean, informally, Ms. Caldwell has worked with different students, but this will be a more formal way of kind of having students work, say, Mckay and Sprague and West and McNary, and kind of bringing students from different high schools working in intentionally trying to make sure that they all work together in a formal way. So that's where this policy amendment, I hope, will help us do that. Even though informally you can add work with anybody. Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Topoulos.
So essentially what you would be doing is tabling the action to vote on appointing a student advisor. You'd be tabling that agenda item. And then at your next meeting, we would have to have a proposed policy with amendments to do what you suggest.
Chair Avila, I want to ask a point of clarification. Can this not be an amendment, cannot be introduced as a first reading today to the existing student advisor policy, or do we have to go through the whole thing all over again?
Well, I think tonight you can talk about your ideas for what an amendment would look like. This started with a discussion about adding 2 people rather than 1. And now you have suggested, Director Chandragiri, that the language be more than 1. And so you can share your ideas about that with hopefully the motion to table. The vote will pass. And maybe you should start there, Chair Avila, with the motion to table, and then you can talk about your ideas on what a policy might look like so that we can prepare one for your consideration at the next board meeting.
So does it have to go through first reading again and second reading and the voting, or can this be the first, just an amendment to the existing policy and the next one can be voted?
I think if there's consensus on what the board wishes to do tonight on a policy amendment, then you could treat this as the first reading.
Thank you.
Thank you. So then I will move forward to take a vote to table this vote on our student advisors. Thank you very much, Raylynn and Isaac. You all have impressed us all to make such a change. So congratulate yourselves on us having us take this vote. So all those in favor to table this vote to the next meeting, please say aye or raise your hand so I can see.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all directors are saying aye, so we will table this vote and we will keep you to in the loop and contact and with communication so that we can bring you back for our next meeting, if that's okay with you all. So thank you.
Chair Avila, so now would be the chance to talk about your the board's ideas on how you would wish to amend BG 11.
Yeah.
And just to, I don't have that.
I have it up. I have it up. I can read it. So this would be a change to the current BG 11 number 12 currently reads, annually appoint a student advisor to the board as a non-voting member. The student must have 1 year experience on the district-led student equity committee or / student advisory committee. So let's have a discussion right now as Director Chandragiri is to change it to annually provide more than 2 or up to 2.
No, more than 1.
More than 1 student advisor. Director Carson Cunningham?
I support that, what Director Chandragiri's put on the table. I think it leaves it open-ended and the board can determine then each year how many advisors to appoint, depending on number of applicants, qualifications, et cetera.
Other directors, thoughts, support?
Chair.
Director Nose-Pressy?
2 things. One, I just want to really give this kudos and thanks to Isaac and Raylynn, just because, I know it sounds probably tedious, and you'll have to wait until our slow moving processes get through, but I think we can safely say that we are just absolutely astounded by both of you and are so happy and excited to have you join us. So I did want to ask Chair or Superintendent, since we are tabling the student advisor, could we maybe release them so they could go about their evenings? I'm sure they don't want to hear the semantics of the board. Or they could. I just giving the option.
They get to their homework a little bit faster. I don't see a problem with it. Nobody else does. So, yeah.
This is a public meeting. We report to them. They can sit here and watch us.
Oh, yeah.
Hold us. Yeah, it's a public.
Isaac and Raylynn, you're free to stay or free to go. Like I said, we'll be in communication with you too. So is that anything else, Director Nels-Pressy?
I just wanted to advocate that we maybe say no more than 3, because once we start getting to numbers that would match like the board itself, then I don't see why it would be student advisor and not just like maybe like a committee with like a board liaison. I feel like 3 would allow us to have maybe like some of like the major areas of Salem represented. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, no more than 3. Director Gary, can you state yours again?
Yeah, my statement was to leave it as more than 1, but then it kind of, because I'm also thinking from a very equity lens point of view. That way, we could make sure that different parts of our different high schools also have an opportunity. Let's say we have some good candidates who want to apply from different high schools. It gives people a chance to mix with different high schools. There's a possibility we could have 6 or 7 students who will volunteer and come. I'm sure that is a rare possibility. But on the other hand, 1 year first time when we wanted to have everybody there. Unfortunately, Mr. Dakopoulos held us back because he said the policy says only 1. Remember, Mr. Dakopoulos, that was the discussion we had.
Thank you, Director Gary. I would stress that we probably even just consider 2 or less student advisors because this also requires a lot of work, investment of their own time, and it should be something that is strived for to achieve, and which in this case, Isaac and Raylynn have done, as well as Grace and before Grace, right? And if we have 3, I think that it might lose its a desire to really serve and make a big difference, because these students are standout students, putting themselves out there and want to represent, and this is really great experience for them. So I want to keep that level to be there for them and the growth and the experience. But Director Guzman-Ortiz, I saw your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I feel that I think, as far as the suggestion of 3 is like might be the compromise of, anywhere between 1 and 3. I also lean towards 2 and thinking about the support that the students also need. And that I know that, for example, Superintendent Perry is in constant communication with the student advisor, with Grace and others as well. And so it does take a lot. It does take time. And I think that we need to also be conscious of how much time, and that it's fair and that it's meaningful for our student advisors, that the experience is meaningful and that they have the support that they need. And it also makes me think of how else can we create that, strengthen some of the relationships between the board and our student advisors. So I would love to have that discussion as well. And, not necessarily like having it go on the policy, but how can we be strategic and intentional about how we support the student advisors and how we collaborate with them and learn from them and vice versa. So just wanted to kind of put that out there. I think it's been difficult with, we have our meetings we've had virtual meetings, but, I recall it was different when we were in the boardroom, and we would come in and just have a quick chance to check in with Grace, for example, how are you doing and whatnot. So just really want to think about the meaningful experience for the students and the bandwidth and capacity of our admin, who also pours in a lot of time and energy into these roles. So 2 feels most comfortable for me, but open to considering 3.
Director Bethel, any thoughts?
I actually agree with yourself, Chair Avila. I think that these students today proved themselves, and having 2 makes the most sense, but I'm not going to squawk over 3. I think you could probably bring 50 and they would all have major contributions to present to us. But I also know that and hope that someday we're going to be back in the boardroom and the dais is small and we are already cozy. And I would want these students to be participating and sitting with us up front. And if we increase it past 2, I don't honestly know how we would make that work. Although I'm sure Christy and her team could work magic. I do think 2 makes the most sense. I love that we've increased our odds by 1 already in just a year, and it's a positive approach overall. So whatever y'all really want is fine by me, but 2 sounds great.
Thank you. I have a sense that the majority's kind of citing 2, but I could bring up the option for 2 or 3 as a vote, Mr. Tokopoulos?
No, you wouldn't be voting today. I think if there's a consensus, we'll just write the policy for 2. And then if there's an amendment next time, proposed amendment to expand it, then you can always consider that. I do like the idea that this goes to a second meeting, simply because changing your board policy all in one meeting without any notification to the public, this is something that the public would be interested in and may have some good ideas for you to consider on this subject. So thank you for agreeing to do this next week, next board meeting, which I think is June 14th. That might actually be after school is out.
Almost. Some seniors, yes.
Okay.
Seniors will be out.
Well, hopefully our candidates can be with us on June 14th.
Okay. Well, thank you. Alice has also been taking notes, and I think the consensus is to have 2 right now. So we'll get that written up and shared with the rest of the board, and then brought forth to our meeting. So thank you very much. Okay. Let's moving on to item number C here, which is 5C, to adopting our resolution in support of dual language expansion. So we do not read this resolution. So we're going to move forward and ask Superintendent Perry for a review of this item. Superintendent Perry?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for all of your care around this, really in support of our educators who are out in our schools that are implementing this next round of expansion. So thank you. And I think this is a really strong resolution that sets really the right tone from leaders of the district. After our dual language work session last time, there were a couple modifications to the resolution. I think they were based on some of the comments from Director Guzman Ortiz. So in the whereas, number 8, the one that starts with 8 or 9, whereas dual language is an additive research tested program. We've added the statement that says by expanding language instruction to multiple language, but never expense at the first. So we added a little to stress the multilingualism there. And then the whereas that the next whereas down, we said that we'll open the door for other dual language programs in other languages to affirm the assets of our newcomers and multilingual students. So those we've added to kind of highlight the multilingualism and to open the door for at some point other languages as well. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, and I'm thinking you're ready for a vote.
Yes. Do I have a motion? Director Chandigiri motions. Do I have a second?
Second.
Director Nohos Pressy. Discussion. Yes, Director Chandigiri.
I really want to thank a lot of people who put in a lot of years of work, and the coalition, parents from SK Coalition, and community partners, our teachers and leadership. So thank you very much, and thank you, board. This is a very important moment. And I also want to thank folks from the Oregon Department of Education, the EL program, and the vice chair of Oregon Education Board, I believe it's called, Martinez Zapata, Dr. Martinez Zapata, and others. This is really important. But I really want to specifically thank one mother who sat in that SIA Spanish language group where I was one of the board directors asked to go. And I couldn't understand anybody's because I don't speak Spanish, but this mother spoke good English. And her children were in EL program, and she was a third generation native Spanish speaking children. And so she really kind of explained it. Her mother also is a teaching assistant in our district. So she asked if this program could expand to the parts of Salem where her children study. It'll be good. So I really want to say thank you, Mother, for asking that question. And today, I think that is what you gave us the marching order is probably coming true. I don't remember her name, so I apologize. But she is a mother from the coalition parents. And her mother also is a staff in our district. So, and her children, 2 children go there. She spoke good English. So she was able to sit and explain to me the difference between this model and the other. So I really think this is going to make a big difference. And I want to say thank you. And as a physician, I've seen knowing language can save lives, and it's really important for people to be able to communicate. We talked when some of the students asked for counselors, etc. Language is very critical. Without that, we can miss a lot. So thank you. This will be good for everybody, and this has to continue beyond us. That's what I feel. I'll be supporting it and ask others to support it, please.
Thank you, Director Chandigiri. Any other comments? Okay, saying none either. Just sharing your sentiments. Thank you, everybody who is behind the scenes and really helping develop, bringing people together and planning this out. Being supported, making the right investments, and all the advocates and all the champions. Thank you. So it's time I'll take a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Those who are not on camera.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all directors are raising their hand or said aye. Motion, the proclamation passes. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving forward to approve the revision of the board governance policies BG11, board operations, and BG12 role of the budget committee in respect to return to in-person board meetings. Superintendent Perry, can I get a review of this item, please?
Yeah, we have not made any changes since the last meeting, and this is a result of the committee of people that work to put the parameters around in-person board meetings and behavioral expectations. And once passed, then I'll talk to you a little bit about the next not this item, but a little change in how we will return, because we won't have student services as the building because they're going under construction for the summer months. So we've secured a new location and are ready to go when you tell us you're ready and you've adopted these policy changes.
Great, thank you. Do I have a motion to pass? Director Nohos Pressy, motions. Do I have a second? Director Chandigiri, seconds. Discussion. Director Chandigiri.
Yeah, I think this is very important policy, and I really want to thank folks who worked on this. You know, we recently had a very unfortunate incidents of, somebody threw an explosive or arsenic.
Director Chandagiri, I'm going to call point of order on that.
finish.
That's not part of the school. I understand the seriousness of it, but it is off topic.
Yeah, thank you. But we should all be working towards safety, because sometimes it can get out of hand. The words can turn into action, and somebody can act on it without realizing it. So I really think it is really important that we stick to this parameter and we enforce it, because I've seen terrible things have happened and shouldn't happen. This is school. School should be a safe place for all of us. All public school is for entire public, and everybody should feel safe and belong. So my hope is that this language people will take it seriously, and everybody will have to work towards this goal, and we have to also enforce it and implement it. And that's really important for everybody to feel safe, and so that yet it shouldn't stifle people from coming and sharing what is in your mind. That's also an important piece. We want people to share their comments and participate and give us some constructive discussion and ideas in a way that everybody feels safe. And so hope that it's too wordy, but we are all able to kind of follow this and make sure, Chair, you have the ability to use this to kind of bring some safety when we come back in person or when we are online. Both ways, I hope this is implemented.
Thank you, Director Chandagiri. Additional comments? Okay, seeing none, just want to say thank you to Director Guzman-Ortiz, Director Bethel, and Director Pressy, and our administrators and staff who worked on this together. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to the return in person. So all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I see all directors are voting to approve. So this resolution will pass. So thank you, Superintendent Perry.
Right. So thank you. And so a couple things. One is leadership decided because of needing to move to a new space at the Marion County and Chariots building. So it's the place where the county commissioners meet, and also Chariots board meets at the Senate hearing room. But we're going to keep budget committee meetings virtual to work on those virtually, and then move in June to that location. This does a big thing for CCTV, who's been huge partners during this time. They can get their equipment out of there before we go under construction. And also they are doing all our graduations. So it's such a busy time for them. So that's what we're going to do. We'll do virtual. And then if we say we're ready to go in person, we'll be at the Senate hearing room on June 14th.
Great. Looking forward to that. And okay, moving on to 5E, adopt resolution number 2021-22-21, request from the city of Salem to the Salem-Keizer School District Taxing District. Superintendent Perry, can I get a review for this item, please?
Yes, you have voted on this at least once. I think the last time was a 5-year tax exemption. And Director Carson Cottingham, can you just take a minute or two to explain why this has come back this direction for the board to review and vote on again?
Yes, absolutely, Superintendent Perry. Beacon Development reached back out to us with a new proposal. They are proposing to us that they would set aside 10 affordable units within this new market rate building. Those would be at the 80% of AMI, or area median income, I believe it stands for. And so, we had discussed some things like this prior and landed on the 5-year abatement. And so they've come back to ask us to reconsider the 10-year abatement, but with putting forth 10 affordable units for the length of that 10-year abatement. and then it will go back to the city, and procedurally, not exactly sure what will happen from there, but some sort of reconciliation process with the 10-year abatement that they've passed, plus some other things that have moved forward recently. This is for the Nordstrom site. It's really, an important, I think, new development for our city to increase housing in general as part of like the larger housing strategies. But it seemed that our board is pretty committed to ensuring that when these come to the district for approval with this particular program, that they come with a commitment to affordable housing. And so that's what sits before us today. Director Bethel.
Director Bethel?
I just wanted to make a motion to accept this proposal of a 10-year tax abatement with 10 affordable units.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Knowles-Pressey. Any further discussion? None. Say thank you again to Vice Chair Carson Cunningham for really leading these discussions and helping them move forward. There's a lot of back and forth, that was for sure. So thank you very much for all your hard work. All those in favor of passing, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All directors have approved, and so this will pass. Congratulations. Okay, moving forward.
And Chair, just
yes.
want to say a quick thank you to Deacon Development for being willing to work with us on moving affordable housing policy forward. We really appreciate their willingness.
You're right. And I think I'd also like to just say thank you to city councilors that were engaged in discussion and that can lead to further discussion and a joint planning session for policy making and development for our city. So looking forward
absolutely.
to that.
I second that. Here.
I'll reach out to the city tonight and let them know about this action, just so they can let the developer know as well.
Thank you. Okay, we are ahead of schedule. Moving forward with our consent calendar. Superintendent Perry?
So general information on the consent calendar as usual. There's one item on the grants that I wanted you to take a quick look at related to a grant from the Oregon Health Authority. The Oregon Health Authority has been really great with us around some suicide prevention work, sources of strength. But this particular grant is around some staff wellness work. So I just wanted to point that out because it isn't immediately obvious in the grant plate there. With that, I'll turn it back to you for a vote.
Thank you. Is there any board member that wishes to pull an item from the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none. I'll take a motion to Director Carson Cunningham, are you motion? Do I have a second?
Yep.
Second.
Who was that? Oh, Director Knowles-Pressey. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, raise your hand and say yes.
Aye.
All directors are raising their hand and passes the consent calendar. Okay. Moving on to item number 7. Valley Inquiry Charter School contract amendment. Superintendent Perry?
Right. Dr. West is here just to take a couple minutes with you to explain this request from Valley Inquiry Charter School. They were up for renewal with us, I think it was last year or the year before, but they have a special request and that they'd like you to consider is presented tonight for a first reading. So Dr. West, I'll let you kick us off here.
Excellent. Thank you, Superintendent Perry, Chair Avila, directors and vice chairs. Just briefly, as Superintendent Perry said, we did renew our charter with Valley Inquiry last year. So their contract officially began on July 1st of 2021. They, over the past several years, have introduced to their students a primary year's international baccalaureate program. And as they were introducing this program to their existing students at that time, they were laying the plans and the groundwork to actually expand that program to the middle years. They're at a point right now where they're ready to actually do that. And in fact, they have started that expansion. They have a 6th grade cohort right now that is at Valley Inquiry Middle School and engaged in learning that middle years program. They're ready to expand to 7th and 8th grade, but in order to do that, they need to make some infrastructure changes to the facility they're located in and the site they're located on. In order to do that, they need to secure a loan. And as you know, loans for infrastructure work tend to carry a heavy price tag. You've been involved in a lot of the bond work that we've done recently in the district, so I'm sure you all know this well. One of the things that is crucial in securing a loan is convincing or showing the loaning agent that you will in fact be a viable institution for the period of the loan. In order to help Valley Inquiry secure the loan that they need, which would be for a 10-year period, we are asking that we extend the contract from the original 5-year period, which would have been from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2026, and instead extending that to 10 years, July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2031. Nothing else in our contract with Valley Inquiry Charter School would change. This is simply an extension of the period of the contract. The state law does allow us to have a 10-year contract with charters, and Valley Inquiry has fulfilled the requirements within state law for us to be able to extend this to them. As Superintendent Perry said, this is a first read, but we're available to answer any questions if you have them at this time.
Thank you very much. Any questions? There we go. Director Chandigiri.
So by extending the contract, they will have a contract so they can apply for a loan. Are we going to act like a surety or a collateral thing, or we have to be there to, are they going to use our credit rating for their loan?
Excellent question, Dr. Chandigiri, and the answer is no. There's no liability to the district for Valley Inquiry to secure this loan. We do support them in this effort. They're a good charter partner, and we'd like to see them expand if they're able to do so, but there's no fiscal liability to the district.
A quick follow-up is, can any of the bond cannot be used for that, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
And Director Guzman, please.
Just wondering if there needed to be amendments, like is that an option to amend the contract at some point? And I honestly don't have any idea of what would require that or what might call a need for that, but.
Yeah, that's what we're presenting tonight as a first read of an amendment to allow us to extend the contract. So we don't actually need to rewrite the entire contract. We just need to extend the period of time that the contract is viable so that Valley Inquiry's creditors feel confident that they'll be in existence for the duration of the loan. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so if there something else needed changing, we just kind of do a similar process. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director West. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on to our item 7B, resolution for supplemental plan for approval of transportation costs, resolution number 202122-22. Superintendent Perry.
All right, this is a first reading of another resolution related to a supplemental transportation plan. And our COO, Bob Silva, is going to present this, and our Director of Transportation is with us tonight. If there's any technical questions about the maps and things, because he knows these inside and out. So with that, Mr. Silva, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Chair Avila, Board Directors, and Superintendent Perry, as was just said, this is first reading of a resolution to submit a updated supplemental plan to ODE for approval. So school districts are required to provide transportation to elementary students within 1 mile of the school and 1.5 miles for secondary students. And ODE provides a mechanism through a supplemental plan to provide transportation to students that reside within that 1 or 1.5 mile and provide reimbursement. So keep in mind, transportation reimbursement is at 70% through the ODE transportation grant. So this allows a supplemental plan, if approved by ODE, allows us to seek reimbursement for students that are transported within the 1 mile and 1.5 mile boundaries. So in the packet with you tonight is the updated supplemental plan that has current safety conditions that require transportation, as well as an updated resolution for students who are refugees, students experiencing houselessness, foster care, students with a 504 plan, and students who are historically underserved and may require transportation for health or safety reasons. And that will run through an internal process supported by a educational support team. So the resolution kind of outlines that, and also the board packet has the full supplemental plan. So this is first reading. If approved, we would submit to ODE and start applying some of these new practices to our transportation process.
Thank you, Director Silva. Do we have any questions at this moment? Okay, I'm seeing none.
Could I just have our transportation director turn on his camera for a minute? Because if you can imagine leading a transportation department that serves the largest, the most number of students in the largest geography in the whole state, and all the consolidated routes, like they know their mission is to get kids to school on time, and every day they have to consolidate a route. It hurts them. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to your whole department. And as I step foot for a minute into the dispatcher's room today, I know the load they're carrying, and please pass on from me and from the board a heartfelt thank you.
I second that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. We really appreciate and value all that you do for our students in the district.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 8, information standard reports. Included the moderated data report through April, superintendent evaluation summary, our board meeting schedule. And these are standard reports provided in written form for the board's review ahead of the meeting, not as full presentations. The superintendent may have pointed to a couple of these reports in her earlier superintendent's report. And at the second, she can also highlight something if needed. Superintendent?
Yeah, I don't have any specific highlights. You see the data monitoring report as you see each time. You're hearing both places where you're not seeing it, but there's places where things are settling and doing well. There's places where we still have escalated behavior. And so I think you're seeing what you're hearing in our reports. As you look at the numbers, really important, these don't compare year over year. So we really have to go back to that 1920 school year to really get trend analysis. And then we have to remember students have disrupted learning. So I was at a middle school today, just really things were well in order. And one of the places I would love you to go visit is one of our strategies around classroom management is Envoy. And you saw a couple of those additional type coaching positions in the proposed budget. And that Envoy is a really strong classroom management and skill, and it's a big training for our new teachers and then many of our veteran teachers. And so I use words like envoy, but I would love you to come see it. And we've got an envoy coach at Parish Middle School that would love to show you what that looks like in classrooms. I also got a chance to visit a dual language classroom today at Parish as well, which was really nice. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you. And again, directors, please submit any questions ahead of time for these reports so that they can be answered here. So thank you very much. And moving on to our board reports. Well, this is the moment that we ask our board members and our student advisor to report on activities since the last board meeting. I just want to remind you all that this is a time to share about what you've been engaged in, activities, and not a time to express whatever is on your mind about the district operations. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'll call you all out from my screen. So Director Guzman-Ortiz.
Thank you, Chair Raylynn. Sorry, my internet's been jittery today, but lastly, joined the SIA meeting, which was yesterday, and I have this recurring work conflict that sometimes can't catch the first 45 minutes or hour. But I did have a chance to come in and just hear an update regarding the restorative practices and behavior redesign process. And just want to say I'm so thankful for the efforts, the intentionality that has gone into the process, and just to hear how this is a long-term and strategic plan to move this forward. And I think folks will correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, there was something that really struck me, which was like the approach to this really is about strong relationships and high accountability, right? So there is both. We're really encouraging the relationships, and that is going to support that accountability piece on all ends. But it just really centering relationships, I think, is what's going to be so important. So just thankful for everyone who's in that group and all of the amazing information. And I've just had a chance to listen in and join that. And other than that, that's all that comes to mind right now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Director Chandragiri.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just want to say, Superintendent Perry, I really want to thank you for all that you have done and you're doing. I mean, last year was a very difficult time. And it was, I don't know how we managed, but so thank you very much. And, sometimes it looks like we are going through a storm, but we could stay focused on this. Some other things that focused on education and high quality education despite all that tempest. And last year for you to, I worked very closely with you. So I really want to say, I saw it was difficult. Nobody knew what to do, and yet we did it. Had to close the school and open the school, and wildfire and whatever else, ice storm and God knows what else hit us. It was difficult, and everybody in our community got carried away through all that. We had to just stay laser focused. And moving forward, we will grow, we will learn, we will grow, we will learn to work on rebuilding the trust and build those bridges necessary across the rest of the community. And I really seek your help in intentionally start bringing different parts of our community together, because our community cannot continue like this for the sake of our children. So thank you very much for being there last year through all that when I worked with you. Please.
Well,
please allow me to
Chandragiri, this is a time to talk about board activities, not about board operations about this last year. This is the time, Director Chandragiri.
Okay. But we have a tradition. It's not in the policy where we recognize some.
This is our agenda at the time.
Chair.
Because you are being out of order, Director Chandragiri, and we'd like to establish
Tell me
procedure.
what policy, Chair, what policy am I violating by saying that
I clearly stated this is a time to report out on activities.
All right.
Thank you. Grace?
Let's see. I haven't been on a lot of meetings, but I've just finished my tennis season, so I'll be able to start going to more committees and other budget meetings probably. But I guess for me, it's just like graduation and reflections from the year. I think my next meeting will probably be my last at June 14th, right? Yeah, that'll be my last meeting, so I'll have to give a little farewell speech. But I guess it just feels so weird, like seeing the new, when I was like watching the student advisors come up, I was like, why am I nervous? Like, I was just like, I bet they have all their little speech all prepped and stuff. It was just such a weird experience, but it's exciting as well. So I don't know, that's all I have. Now I have to think about what I'm going to say on my last meeting.
Great. Thank you. And please share with us, if you've decided that then, what college you'll be going to. Director Bethel?
Thank you. I just want to clarify the point of order for these board meetings. It actually says board reports on the agenda. And I appreciate the reaction that I get, from the verbal personal cues from board members when we kind of try to figure out what's happening. But it feels to me, Chair, like you're trying to censure us in a way that's inappropriate. There is no policy for board to state when we can and can't say things under board reports. And I appreciate the direction you're trying to take it. I do support that. But if you're wanting to actually create a policy to put us in a box so you can tell us what to say, I would encourage you to produce a work session so you can move down that road. And until that time is created, that you allow board members during board reports to just share. And if there's particular times that you'd like to encourage us to do that with you in a collaborative way, that would be helpful as well. But tonight, I find it offensive that you're cutting Dr. Chandragiri off when he is an elected official just like you and should have equal say during appropriate times. And if there's not a time on this agenda that suits you, as the chair, you should create that so we have equal opportunity to voice our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bethel. Duly noted. We're just trying to run efficient and effective meetings to stay on task. And yes, we'll continue to work on board agreements in our work sessions, and would love to have your input. So thank you. Director Carson, Vice Chair, Second Vice Chair Nones Pressy.
So last month I attended the SCATS committee meeting where we received an update on the TIP project from D Street to Union Street. There was no financial cost changes or anything. They were just updating location data on westbound 99 East. They're working on updating the overhead guide and overhead lane use signing, and also installing bike lanes along Commercial Street. We also had a briefing on a public survey that SCATS did. They sent out postcards, especially to minority areas here in the district. Of course, with many of, I think, these transit related items, not a lot of people are aware of what's going on, but they were attempting to gain some information on any issues that folks encounter while traveling in Salem-Keizer. It seemed like a large part was just kind of transit accessibility. We did have discussion about potentially creating a citizens advisory committee to the SCATS policy committee as representative from the Chariots district. Sadie Carney noted that we have underrepresentation specifically of our minority population, and if there's maybe some way that we could oversample that population to receive their feedback, it could be more beneficial to the accessibility of our transit systems. And I agree. I mean, I know that a lot of the postcards were specific to those EJ areas, but knowing the technology divide amongst our community, I'm sure that some folks didn't know how to access the website or what they were supposed to do. So that is one thing that we are maybe going to look into on SCATS. We also received a briefing on the OTC decision of the IIJA funds. Don't ask me what that acronym stands for because I don't remember, but it was flexible transit funding that came up, and they allocated a nice chunk of money. Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly, to Safe Routes to School, which is very heartening, as I know that we really need that accessibility for our families to be able to walk to school safely and comfortably, especially in certain areas. Like I know here where I live, if my kid was to go to Hammond, it's like a mile away, and I would feel very uncomfortable of having her walk because there's many spots that are missing sidewalks. But they did allocate, and bear with me for one moment because these packets are pretty big. Okay, about $30 million specifically to the Safe Routes to School. And so that's exciting. And they also allocated $100 million to ADA accessibility. So upgrading ADA accessibility on sidewalks. I am disappointed to see that there wasn't funding towards actual transit systems, such as bus routes, but hopefully we can continue working on that. As well, I participated in the art contest, speaking of Safe Routes to School, with the COG. So you will hopefully maybe receive a very adorable calendar of some art from the schools here in the district. The theme was people-powered transit. And there was some really interesting and unique ways that our students were able to kind of riff on that. And so we picked, I think, 15 art pieces. It was really difficult. And so they're gonna have little calendars made up. And then also I got to visit a school with Director Carson Cottingham. We went, was it just this last Friday? Time blurs. We went to Four Corners, and it was really amazing to get to walk around and see the plans that they have for the construction, and also to get to see like firsthand the social emotional supports that they have for students, and the way that they approach the needs of students. They had the Cub Den that if I was there, I think I would just stay there always. And I did get told that students do try to do that. They have to send them on to school, but it's really nice that they have those services for kids that are coming in either tired or having regulation issues and other things like that. It was really calming in there. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Second Vice Chair Noah's Pressy. Vice Chair Carson Cunningham.
Thank you. First, I wanted to report out that we did have our first in-person legislative policy committee meeting for the Oregon School Boards Association. Both Director Noah's Pressy and I were in attendance, being briefed on how the state school fund works, and getting to meet directors from all across the state, gearing up for next year's long legislative session where we would be advocating for all things that we need in Salem-Keizer. I also attended a fantastic art show it was Howard Charter School, or Howard Street Charter School, doing art for micro shelters, and the exhibit was called Making a House a Home. Director Noah's Pressy was there as well. I think maybe Director Avila you were there later. But anyway, great exhibit, middle schoolers creating art plus a paragraph about what their piece would mean to them and potentially someone who's moving into a micro shelter to make it a more welcoming space. They're also going to be doing some art for the outside. They're doing some 3D art that will go on doors and I think outside. So very, very, really exciting stuff coming out of Howard Street. In addition to Four Corners with Director Hinojos Pressy and Assistant Superintendent Cobb, I got to go see Richmond Elementary, which Superintendent Perry mentioned in the beginning of tonight's meeting. Principal Doherty is doing amazing things there. Got to see their ITCC classroom and, walk through a similar room to the Cub Den that Maria Hinojos Pressy was talking about, where if a student just needs, to decompress a little bit, they can go in. There's all kinds of either physical activity, relaxation, things to just sort of, recenter yourself before going back to the classroom. And if I'm understanding correctly, it sounds like most of our elementary schools have that. Our middle schools are gaining that, and high schools as well over time as a really great approach, coming out of the pandemic. If you want to feel amazing about what public school represents, go to some of these schools and just, watch the teachers in action, watch the principals. They are giving so much to our community and our kids. It's amazing to see the, dual language classroom, amazing to see how they work with children with disabilities to make sure that their needs are getting met. It just really is amazing to see it firsthand and know how much good is happening out there across the district. So thank you for welcoming us in and showing us all of those incredible things. And then lastly, Chair Avila and I had the opportunity to meet and listen to some of our Pacific Islander staff. And they shared wonderful feedback. I think everyone is concerned about some of the attendance rates issues that we've seen. And so the chair and I really want to ask the question of what can we do to make sure that we're working in the best way possible with all of our communities. But in particular, the attendance rates are low for our Pacific Islander community. And so we wanted to know what we can do better. And so amazing feedback shared, and we're going to be working on some of the things that were suggested and really getting out into the community as much as possible. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Vice Chair Carson Cunningham. Yeah, for me, continue engaging with ODE on the Senate Bill 744 to discuss and the process for the essential skills and how that can come back to the states and the districts, making it more equitable and making sure our students are prepared for the next stages of their lives. I also attended an art show at the Salem Art Association, and right now they currently have a Black Matter art. I'd encourage anybody to visit as well. Getting ready for Monday nights, our third Pacific Islander Stories from Oregon for our community learning session. Again, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We're going to have wonderful staff, community members that they've identified to come share and help learn how we can be stronger partners to our students, our communities. And we need to do all we can. And I think it starts by being present, being there as much as we can be. So I really appreciate all the time. I was looking forward to a school visit. Unfortunately, we had to reschedule. So next time we'll make sure we get there, and looking forward to upcoming graduation celebrations and graduation ceremonies that we'll be able to report out the next meeting. So thank you very much. It is 8:44 p.m. I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
For more videos and information, go to capitalcommunitymedia.org and follow us on social media.